Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Have you heard enough about that oil spill yet? Do you want to hear any more about it?
No.
Not really? I'm going to tell you the other side of the story. Well, not exactly. It is still about BP. But about some of the stories about BP. As many of you know, BP used to be British Petroleum. And so, since back when the days when I lived in Hong Kong, I knew that company. I used to work for multinational companies too in Hong Kong, and so I have been very familiar with them. But now I work in environmental health and safety, and I'm even more familiar with them because they are in the environmental and health and safety news all the time, even before this oil spill. Is there anyone here from Houston, Texas, or have lived there? Close to Houston, there is Texas City. And BP has an oil refinery there. In 2004, they had a fire.
Oh.
That's not too bad. The following year, they had an explosion that killed 15 people and hurt 170. The Chemical Safety Board, which is the government agency that investigates these chemical accidents, took several years to investigate the accident, and they even have a video on the Safety Board's website that was very interesting. I had watched it. But then, 3 months later, in July, the explosion happened in March. In July, they had another fire caused by hydrogen. And that cost them, nobody was hurt fortunately at that time, but that cost them $30 million in property damage. 3 years later, they had more investigations from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. That's OSHA. Many of you may have heard of the name. Why? Because people kept dying there. In 2008, they had another fatality, but this was not the first one after the big explosion. This is the third one after the explosion. It is still under investigation, that last fatality. But all in all, over a 32-year period, 41 people had died at that site, working on the job. How about Ohio? Anybody from Ohio? Toledo, Ohio? I've been in Ohio. I've never been in Toledo. However, BP also has a refinery there. And just recently, OSHA gave them a $3 million fine because back 2 years ago, they had an OSHA inspection. OSHA told them to fix certain things. They did fix it. However, this time around, OSHA came back for 6 months to investigate that plant and found out that, yeah, they fixed those specific valves that they were told that these things were defective. But there were a lot of others, similar equipment in the same plant that they never did anything about it. So they got a $3 million fine. Now, overall, you may have heard in the media that they received actually a total of $87 million over all the citations and violations. Why? Because OSHA says they keep doing the same things, or rather not doing the same things to make any improvements. And everything you heard about their past CEO, Tony Hayward, said on the news how important safety is to them, this is all a joke. Out of the $87 million, 57 is because they just kept repeating and repeating the same things. In fact, between June 2007 to earlier this year, just before this new incident, how many citations do you think BP received? They only have really 2 refineries that are concerned in this, Texas City and Toledo. How many citations do you Can just make a guess. How many citations do you think they got?
20, 30,
20, 30?
250.
250? 862.
Oh my gosh.
And we are only talking about 2 places. It wasn't like they have these refineries all over the place. And every one of them maybe got a few. That wasn't the case. Furthermore, there are different categories of citations that OSHA has. Some of them are more serious, other ones not as much, depending on whether they think this is egregious or willful. The biggest one is the egregious willful violation, which means that this is committed totally with indifference to the employee safety. And in that same period that I was talking about, 2007 to this year, OSHA issued to everybody, 761 of those citations. Out of the 761, how many do you think BP got?
750.
760, you are close. Yes.
Wow.
There was only one other refinery that got one other such citation. And then BP also had the lower category, which is just willful violation. That's what it is called. They have, out of the 90-some citations that OSHA issued during that period of time, they got 60-some of those. So all in all, only 4% of the inspected refineries were BP refineries, but 54% of the violations were BP violations. So what's happening to their stock now? Some of you know about stocks.
Yeah.
The price got to only about half of the previous price before this new incident, and this is a 14-year low. It come back a little bit more now because they are trying to raise more money, and so the people call this yard sale, BP's yard sale. And on top of that, they are trying to get government not to regulate them so much, but the government is going to come in. So my advice to businesses is that we need to be more careful about what we are doing. Small incidents can get to big things, and if we don't do anything, the government will.
Okay.